So first we are going to make a Skinner blend with three colors: cobalt blue, white, and fuchsia. If you haven't watched yet my Skinner blend tutorial, I will post a link both in the video description and in the cards up there, so that if you're not very well versed into making Skinner blend gradients, you can see how to do that. And that tutorial has quite a bit of tips. But just to give you a few more tips in this one, if your Skinner blend gets too wide, you can fan it like this and then keep going, because this way it will get thinner again. And this is how you will be able to keep your Skinner blend thin for the final cane. Just use your roller and keep pushing the ends in to maintain the thinness of your Skinner blend. Another trick of obtaining faster the gradient is to roll your Skinner blend. That way you'll have several layers that will be overimposing on each other, so your gradient will become a gradient much faster. Once you're happy with it, then simply run it on the thickest setting, and I'm going to divide it in two because I'm going to do two different canes. And for the first one, as you can see, I'm simply using, you can use a ruler. I'm just using one of the templates for the cuffs from Tiny Pandora. And then stack them a little bit randomly. That is, don't put the colors exactly one on each other, and that way you'll create a version of Icap cane. And all you have to do now is simply to consolidate that and then reduce it so we can refine all that area of the Icap. I don't know, is it pronounced Icap or Icap? I have no idea. So your next step here is just to reduce your cane and then cut it and stack it. And if you notice, I am picking the pieces randomly, so I wouldn't have by mistake any kind of mirror type effect, and all that areas of Icap will be very, very random. And then, of course, reduce again. Let's do it one more time. And that is essentially mostly because you need a piece that's a little bit longer than wider. Now let's make this into a leaf, and for this we'll have to deform this rectangle into what would be half of a teardrop. Going to press that way. So from the side it would look pretty much like this. Once you have obtained your shape, it's time to put in the veining of the leaf. And for this I'm going to use some white clay on a thin setting. Simply cut 3 diagonals and then place a sheet of thin white clay between the segments. Now let's reduce this a bit so we can cut it in two and form the leaf. Once it's wide enough to be cut, cut it in two and then place another piece of white between the two halves. Yeah, you don't put the white before that because once you put them together it would be double thick. You want to do that only after you reduced and cut in half. And then now we are going to reduce it some more and then wrap it. Why I prefer to reduce it first and then wrap it is because in these first stages, usually if you put on some wrap, the edges of the wrap will kind of stay behind when you reduce, so you'll get all the ends of the cane wastage because the wrap doesn't follow fully the middle. It kind of stays behind you and you have the ends of the cane that are not wrapped anymore, so they are gone. They are unusable. And if you are worried that the wrapping will be too thick compared to the veins, all you have to do is to just run the clay through a thinner setting than the veins. And you're all set. Now, of course we can wrap it in white. right? Absolutely. And you can wrap it in white on a thin setting and then leave it as is. To wrap, you simply get a sheet of white on a thin setting, measure the width, and then start from one end, wrap it around all the way to the other end. The danger here would be to trap air pockets underneath, so make sure that you kind of rub with your finger. And you'll see, even if I did rub with a finger, you'll still get some air pockets, and to eliminate them you just rub starting from the center towards the edges. But I want to give it an extra step, so I'm going to wrap it next in fuchsia, again on a thin setting. And let me show you how to get rid of those air bubbles. See, there's one there. You just gently push them towards the edge. And then let's wrap it in some cobalt blue. And again, any air bubble, just push it from the middle towards the edges. And then a final wrap, again in white. And of course you can use other colors for the Skinner blend. Just remember to place, it comes up the nicest when you place a light color in between the other two. And there you go. Be careful when you cut, you kind of need to place your leaf on one side and cut kind of sideways. And it's a pretty leaf, isn't it? A little feathered. Remember, you only have to put more veins and it will become a feather, because that's the main difference. Now, let's take care of the other half of the Skinner blend. Again, I'm going to measure so I get equal segments. I found it's much easier to do that than to measure with a ruler. And place them again like for the first one. And again, reduce like for the first one. I'm speeding this up. Yeah, with canes you kind of need to take your time. And there are many ways to reduce it. You can use an acrylic block. You can use the square pairs of tiny Pandora, you can use your roller, you can simply use your fingers. And remember, you can always pull a little bit and it's going to do a good job. Now I am going to reduce it so I can cut it again and stack it again, because we want that Icap part to be very, very, very refined. And I did reduce it a little bit more then it would be just measuring, and you'll see why in just a minute, because I need a little bit of that end for the next step, because this we are going to do it in two ways. We did a leaf, now we are doing a flower petal, which can become a different element in a composite cane. But I think I did already a tutorial on composite canes, but I promise I will do way more. Now, as you can see, I cut it in half, put the halves together, and I'm going to reduce it and start pinching the red end. But don't pinch all of a sudden, because you're going to get the edges all coming up while the middle stays inside. You want to have a nicely rounded, kind of teardropped a little bit, petal shape, but you want to do all that pinching part in stages. You don't want to do it all at once. And I am reducing it because I want again to cut it in half. We'll leave one as a simple petal, and on the second one we are going to make some pretty inclusions. See, it's a very pretty petal that can be used in a lot of flowers. Now, for the one with inclusions, remember that I cut a little piece of the end of the cane. I'm going to reduce it into a sausage. As you can see, I rounded it. And then I'm going to reduce it to about 3 to 4 millimeters long. And then I'm going to wrap it in white on a very thin setting. And reduce it a bit more. And now I'm going to need 3 segments of it. And I'm going to cut some lines. First, cut one in the middle, using the handle of a paintbrush, right where the white part of the gradient is. Make 2 dents and then place that little sausage in, making sure that the blue part is towards the fuchsia part and the fuchsia part is towards the blue part in the cane. And then from the sausage down, place a piece of very thin white clay. Then put back together the 2 halves. Now let's make 2 more insertions the same way. First, cut the cane. And once again, make a dent with the handle of the paintbrush where the white would be. Place that sausage with the colors inversed compared to the colors on the cane. Place a sheet of white and then put the cane together again. And the third one, exactly the same way. Does look a little bit like peacock feathers, doesn't it? And that is pretty much it. You have a petal cane with pretty inclusions. Don't forget that we are going to use all these canes to make a complicated project. And there it is. 1 leaf cane and 2 petal canes. Happy claying! Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share with your friends, and read the video description to see how you can support my channel.